Hello, I'm Dr. John Smelser, and welcome to another episode of Ahtna Mythology. All my life I've heard these stories from our tribe in Alaska, and I've written many books about them, including like this one, Trickster, but there was others like The Raven and the Totem, In the Shadows of Mountains. I would recommend you order them on Amazon. But one of the stories, there'll be two stories that I'm going to record today right now. One is how Camprobber got his face. And the Camprobber is what's called the common jay, just a very common ubiquitous bird in Alaska. And we call it Stockholbe. And in the beginning, see, Stockholbe, the Camprobber, was all gray, just a light gray color all over, that's all. But his friend back then was woodpecker, and we call that kinskrahti. And Camprobber and woodpeckers back then had long tails. And one day they were friends at first, but they were doing something, and Camprobber did something that got woodpecker mad at him. And so woodpecker grabbed him by his neck and kind of held his head up towards a fire, or by a fire. And the smoke from the fire, all the ashes, like stuck on his face, on Camprobber's face. So today, Camprobbers are gray with these little speckles all over them. That's where they got it from. But Camprobber was so mad that when Raven tried to fly away, he grabbed his tail feathers, and he was pulling so hard that his long tail feathers were yanked right out. And to this day, woodpeckers, have short tail feathers instead of long ones. Another story I like is how Raven one time helped Salmon. Raven was flying around, and he saw that salmon couldn't really swim deep down to escape bears, like grizzly bear, chani. They couldn't escape eagles, what we call skulak. And he talked to the chief of the salmon people. Our word for salmon is hluka, so this was the chief. So it was hluka kaska, the chief of the salmon people. And he said, "What's wrong? Why can't you swim down and escape these predators?" And the chief of the salmon people said, "Well, we have this air inside of our heads that makes it really hard to stay down deep. We keep floating to the surface. Can you help me?" Well, Raven thought about it. And what he did is he made a little slice in Salmon's head. And he put two little stones in his head. And he fixed it back up, and he said, "Now try it." And because of that extra weight, instead of the air pocket in their head, salmon could swim down deep and escape all the predators. And they were very thankful. And to this day, if you take a salmon, cut its head laterally, and pull it apart, you will see what looks like two gray stones in their head. Now, between you and me, it's their brain, but it looks like little gray stones, and Raven put it there. So I told you before, we have a story for everything. Hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for another episode.